fix my hair. So, Nightshade's the first to appear. What else is new? So, tonight... I figured probably be good to start now looking into some of the parts where some people do not really have, let's just say, the most, there's Kayla. Hey, where's my son, that beat stick? Okay, Brownies, did you take the beat stick? I'm gonna give you a count to 3 to hand the beat stick over. 1, 2, 2, and Kinky. Oh, that doesn't sound right. Anyway. So. Of course, yes, the spirit board. Or, to be more technical, it'd be known as something as simple as this. The commonly known board game, the Ouija board. Gonna be going into a lot of details about this lovely thing. Some probably vital things that need to be done while using this thing. What not to do. And of course, most definitely how to protect yourself and keep yourself safe. What you should do with the board once you're finished with it after a session. What you should never do with the board. And what you can do to maximize the most potential gain from it. So first off, right off the bat, let's do a little like ever you're starting. What is originally the idea of the Ouija board? Gonna give you a few choices. 1, a board game. 2, divination tool. 3, essentially an occult measure used to scare people as an intimidation tool. Or 4, yeah, well, I mean, it's still good to know. That way you can pass it on to somebody else who's, talking about considering using one of them. Because not all spirit boards and Ouija boards are the same. Just because it has the same structure as an Ouija board, this one is unique on its own, to be technical. But there are some spirit boards. There are some spirit boards that don't even have the hello, goodbye, yes, no. It's just runes. Some spirit boards just have runes. And not all runes by witches and practitioners, not all of them share the same runes. You can see how pretty creative this and unique this can become. Though by Hasbro, a Ouija board is purposely, firstly intended as a board game. To be technical. But when people were starting to use it as a divination tool, because other than, the 3D practical, everyday mundane reason, it was really a board game to be technical. But now using it as a divination tool, because it is a divination tool, because what you're using is you're divining with the mind's eye, but in a way that's actually having the subconscious actually move an apparatus like this over the letters, and usually it needs to be something that's see-through. That way you can kind of map your way through. But, of course, just like what I've said before, in many other live studio audience sessions, because this is a cult, what does it have? Because it's a cultic. Everything has risk. What's the potential risk for this thing? Oh, there's a truckload. Number 1, you can open up to the other side, anything just come flying out of this. Number 2, you can easily be pulled in. You can actually have something come through the board while you're having your hand or this thing onto it, something can come through the board and actually go through the clear piece because it's clear. It can go through and get onto you like that. That's just how it is. That's just the truth. And it can easily, and that's another thing too, because Ouija boards, if you do not cleanse them, if you don't really like purify them as soon as you're finished, the energy can linger and it just sits there and just builds and builds and builds. And you have to like actually properly start the session and properly end the session. But when you end it, you really have to like completely cleanse and purify the board. But by purify and cleanse, I'm meaning something more than just doing this. No, honey, you're gonna have to go like overkill with that. You're gonna have to take something like a camphor square and just on it. And a camphor square is essentially, if not one of the most potent cleansing and purifying things known to mankind, because camphor pretty much is like a cleansing, purifying nuke. Cleans everything on the physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. It's like, okay, there's no hope for this. Completely cleanses it. And essentially, when you're, it can be just a vibe about it, something as simple as that, but when you're having an Ouija board session, how many people do you think you should have with you? How many should do it? Or how many should be minimum present? How many minimum? I'm going to tell you right now, it's more than one. Well, you can probably get away when it's actually 5. Yes, Kayla. And now you're thinking, so why 5? For one, you're going to want somebody who's actually pretty grounded, pretty knowledgeable of like how the board works. And pretty much they're going to be the one that's going to be having the contact with the board. Because if somebody is not grounded and they're like terrified, it's so much easier for them to get latched onto. Then you're going to have a second person primarily be focused on being in the circle with them in case if something happens. And what they're doing is they're the ones asking the questions. And then the person who's moving the see-through thing, they're moving it on their own. They're not having the other person like touching and moving it and influencing it. It's just the one person who's just acting as the one moving the thing through. And then the other two are minimum just onlookers and being there in case if someone has to be restrained or pretty much contained. Or like restrained and they're not being a risk to anybody else. Because if something comes through, gets a hold of someone, there have been instances when people start flailing and they just start losing control and they start having body tremors. And having 2 people come in, restrain them, it's for their own safety. That's putting it the point blank as is best I can put it. And when you have 2 people focused completely on restraining somebody from not being a risk to somebody else, you have one person holding the top, and then you have another person containing the legs, because people can flail. And having that restriction on them prevents them from lashing out and causing harm to anybody else. That's just as a precaution. Minimum 4. And one of them has to be able, at least one of them has to understand how to banish the space, cleanse the space, and to establish and then close it. And that's just for safety reasons. I'd even say minimum have 2 people that are knowledgeable about how the occult works, and 2 other people that are there as if something bad happens, they're there to help and keep the person who is potentially at risk or is latched onto contained, restricted, and safe. But really, there's safety in numbers, and there's a reason why. Ooh, winded. Please don't. Now, when protecting yourself with the board, before you even started, you would want to get something as such. Either 4 selenite towers. For those. Or you could use 4 pieces of, well, I would probably say you could have 4 towers. Or you can have a piece of shungite at the top. But primarily what you want is to have 4 selenite towers or 4 quartz crystals clear. Or, based on how big the board is, having 4 white candles, not on the board, but, well, actually I would say on the board, lit with the intention of actually keeping it whatever is coming through the board, it cannot pass through that, pretty much. Essentially, when you have that setup, 4 selenite towers at the 4 corners, pretty much what you're doing is you're making an visible ceiling. So if something tries to come through, if you're working and you have your selenite pieces or quartz crystal clear, or your protective measures put into place, like the 4 candles or even 4 pieces of shungite, and when you're going, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do to make yourself feel safe and secure. But when you're having those 4 corners be taken care of, when you're doing this, when you're actually like using the board as is intended, you'll come to find out that if something is trying to actually come through and actually like go through the piece, I can't pronounce what it's called. When you have something trying to get through, it's going to hit an invisible ceiling because the 4 corners have essentially these things keeping like an invisible sheet, well, not invisible, like invisible ceiling, like I said. It keeps it, it's a safety measure that if anything tries to come out of the board, it's just going to keep whacking its head. It's just like if someone's tall and they just keep jumping and they're going to keep hitting their head on the ceiling. And that's just a protective measure. Zoe? Oh, are you talking about Zozo? Oh yeah, he was the one that got... Yeah, he was the one that got that. But even then too. At the same time though, sometimes that kind of entity, to be honest, I think is a servitor, to be honest. Because usually, primarily, Zozo, based on my findings, I haven't really seen much history of it. So probably was a man-made construct fiend of something else, but we can't really know because it's so vague. But when you're using the board, first and foremost, you have to make sure that you're in a good state of mind. And it's probably best if you actually write out, why the heck are you using this thing? What are you trying to find out? What are you trying to learn? What are you going to ask? What is your main intention trying to use this divination tool or this apparatus that's risky bisky? Who are you going to talk to? Who are you planning on encountering? Do you know how to actually question it, if it is who it is? Because again, like what I've said before, if you reach out to the spiritual side, if anything comes through, and you're looking for, let's say, you're looking for your sugar mama or grandmother who was passed on, and you're trying to get in contact with her, you first say, all right, can my grandmother hear me? It gets scooched down to yes. Now you say, well, actually you start at hello, and then you ask the question, is my grandmother able to speak? Then if it moves down to yes, okay, and then you would go into the sequence of saying, okay, if it is my grandmother, does she know who I am? Yes. Am I speaking with my grandmother? Yes. Spell out, let's see here. Then think of like, if you're actually like interacting with the ancestor, actually ask it a question so that way they can answer it in the way that only they know. Like for an example, I'm just thinking of something really funny. Who was your favorite kid? And then pretty much they would actually, then it would probably respond accordingly. But if it responds with something that makes no sense, like, who's your favorite kid? No. That's when you would just kindly say, you're not my grandmother. You're dismissed. Please leave. And then you pause, wait for a little bit, and then ask, may I speak with my grandmother? And then just let it do its thing. If it says no, say one last time. My intention is to speak with my grandmother. May I please speak with her? If you get any other answer besides yes, or if it's a no or answer that doesn't make sense, right then and there, say, this is dismissed, write on goodbye. And then just completely cleanse the board, camphor square it, just completely cleanse it, because what was trying to get through was trying to kind of be a little bit deceitful in the way that it was responding. But now that being said, when you're using the board, whenever you start having an incident when this happens, say for an example, you have it go one way and back, and if it's going back and forth in a way that's kind of like sporadic like this, that's when who's ever working the board, when they start seeing that, that is when you tell them release it, because that's an indication that something's trying to breach and get through. If something's making back and forth like that, that's like friction. That's making energy. That's making enough energy to have it spring out onto someone. And once you know how to actually protect yourself first and understand how to go at it safely, it's only made a big deal and a big hissy fit when people that don't know what they're doing and they're just going face first into it. No, that's not. You're not supposed to use that with anything of the occult, because, as always, everything occult has risk. Everything. And even as well, if you like, you can also most definitely. Well, you could, but then again, I'm not somebody who likes using circles. If it makes figure eights, that's showing that it's building up energy that's going to be very, like, it's going to be able to sustain itself, and that's when you release. Even if somebody that's working it, if they keep going, then move the hand. Well, the thing is they have that mindset. They're opening the door to being influenced and, taken hold of, and then whichever spiritual side decides to get a hold of them and mess with them, they're going to have a fun ball game with them. I'm sorry to say that, but that's just how it is. Don't you fizzy over. But anyway. And also, if you use a board and instead of cleansing it, you just, once you're finished, you burn it. Whoops. That's a big whoops. I'll tell you why. If you just used the board and something baneful and malefic was trying to get through and you stopped it in time, if some people can do it alone, they can, but they have to understand that they have to be 100% in control. They need to have the understanding, because I did it alone before, and I'm going to be completely honest. The minute something was trying to, hold my hand while I'm trying to use it, and doing that to it multiple times, and when I tried one last time and it got a piece of selenite stabbed into it, that could have been bad news for me. But it's just something so minor like that can cause a lot of damage. That's why I like to have at least 3 or 4 more other people there, just for safety measures. But now, well, just tell them this. I hear you, Cupcake. I know you're out there. I hear you. Stop groaning, you're doing it wrong. God. No wonder you know. Actually, you know what? You kind of, you really don't know how to fake an orgasm, do you? It's okay, it's okay, it's a skill. You're doing it wrong, kid. You're trying too hard, quit it. Rip. Oops. Did I just, mock it? Oh, well, it happens. That's what happens when things are like, notice me. I'm not just twatted. But if you just use the board and something painful or malefic try to come through, and if you just just tell it, it's okay. You can come out of the closet. I mean, Houser did, and nothing bad happened to him. Just come out of the closet, and then just booby trap it. Like have it get deceived into stepping out, then it gets like, uh-oh, stuck in a seal. Oh, darn. Oops. But once you use the board, and if it's having the remnants of something malefic or baneful try to get through, if you don't cleanse it before you burn it, well, here's the thing. It's stained with that malefic energy and that baneful entity's essence on it, which is part of that entity. The moment that you decide to go without cleansing it, what happens when you burn something? You pretty much take it from the physical into air, smoke. And smoke translates to air, and it spreads. And when you breathe it in, that can be a simple way of having yourself get possessed. I'm just saying. If you're going to be practicing a cult, you have to know. I really think you really have to understand what happens when if you don't think and you're just like, oh, this thing's evil. Well, it's gone finally. No, we don't want that happening, because something so simple like that, without even cleansing it, then burning it, that's an easy way for an entity to actually still get a hold of you. And when you breathe it in, yeah, because it's kind of funny that there's not much being said about some of these topics. And I'm thinking like, why aren't people really talking about the potential risk in it? I'm not trying to make you guys not do it, because no. Because that's kind of like becoming a tyrannical authoritative figure within the niche. And I'm not tyrannical. I'm just telling it for how it is. So that way you're prepared for anything from hanky, panky, spanky, wanky, danky, skanky, anything that comes towards you, you know how to handle it. Go towards it. But so when you're finished with the board, completely like cleanse bomb it. You can use something as eucalyptus with let's see, lemongrass. Lemongrass is a little bit more sassy. Basil. I'm just thinking about plants. Bay leaf. That's another one. Cedarwood. Frankincense. Copal. I'm just trying to think of other ones. Oregano. Oregano is one, because grab it. Peppermint's another one. Peppermint is a really it's like a cleanser that slaps you in the face. But oregano, oregano is pretty much an anti-BS plant. It's anti everything that is just nothing but BS. You can either make a a loose incense blend of it to burn on a charcoal disc. You can make an essential oil mix to put in a diffuser, or if you want to be extra fancy, but if you have a like a board like this, probably not the best to do it because you'd be a wet water-based mixture onto this. It's gonna make it get all. But you have a board kind of like it's not really plastic, but if you have a board that's kind of hard surfaced, you can do it the same way too. And now speaking of that, you know like how there's some mobile apps that have the Ouija board? Here's the issue. Cedarwood. Yes, cedarwood. That's another one. Because cedarwood is pretty much like cedarwood is a tree, in my opinion. The first thing that comes to mind is like an American native elder that has a lot of wisdom, grounded, practical, and tries to keep the whole tribe safe. That's the first thing that I think of when I hear cedarwood. Traditional. And having handed down traditions and keeping the whole tribe and everyone together for heritage. But like how mobile apps, like on your iPad, iPhone, Uphone, or any kind of mobile app whatsoever. You know, I would then just tell those two spirits, you know, you two, it's not very nice to, tell secrets like that. I already know you both are dead, and no one cares. So stop trying to make me, get intrigued by nothing. Rip stuff. Mobile apps that are like Ouija boards and stuff like that. Believe it or not, the minute that you have one of those apps on and you're using it, you just open up a portal. I'm dead serious. Once you open up on the app, the board's there, you start using it, even if it's not even if it's like a joke, it's still a portal. And you can do the same thing just like with this board. Except you would want to have it pretty much just be on like this. And there's loyalty, but primarily, in my opinion, if you're using a mobile app or a device to be your board, you're going to really want to get yourself a piece of shungite. Because shungite is essentially, the best way to put it, for crystals and gemstones, shungite is like that, like how you have an aquarium and then there's the one that feeds on the, what's it called? Like the moss and all that stuff? Uh-huh. But like, what is this called? Like those fish that just eat the, what's that called? Like if you don't have a filter in the water, it gets kind of like builds up all that nasty stuff in it. Yeah, that's what shungite is. It actually feeds and it takes out the BS and it filters it. Because this stuff makes electromagnetic stuff. And shungite filters it. But specifically having shungite with selenite onto this thing, yeah, it's going to be vibrational and BS is not really going to be able to get out of it. But again, even if you're just like pressing the button to hit start, once it's going, once it's moving, it's still doing something. The minute that it starts going like, even on the app, the minute you catch it, flip it. Just flip it. Just completely flip and put it over. And make sure you also have a mirror or some kind like underneath it. That way, if something happens, you can just flip. And that way it'll just go. Now, invoke or evoke, well, horror movies that kind of like bring in a certain Lieutenant Divine, and like, for example, The Exorcist of Emily Rose. I can't remember which Lieutenant Divine it was, but I mean, when they made the movie, he's just thinking, I'm like, what? What? I do what now? No, I don't. But okay, if you insist. And same thing with like Insidious. That's another one. And even though, don't get me wrong, they're very entertaining, but the parts of when they're actually referencing actual Lieutenant Divines, it makes me kind of like, Yep, that's correct, because oregano is the official plant that is anti-BS. Yeah, literally. You can pretty much put anything that has just some form of toxicity, nastiness, or something that's not good. Oregano will come in and start beating it until it gets rid of it. That's how feisty oregano is. True story. Yeah. No, the only thing you got to be really careful with binaural beats, though, is if somebody has made it. If you, yes, oregano oil is awesome. Like it's like BS gone. The issue with I have with binaural beats, though, is that when you're listening to them, you don't know what the subliminal messages are in there. So that's why it's better to make them yourself. Because I have caught a few times listening to a few, and I'm just listening, and then I just pick up on something saying, I'm going to do what? No. But if people aren't really open and aware, that's a subliminal message that gets put into somebody's head, and then now they pretty much get that implanted in them. And I'm not going to... Excuse me. I'm not going to say any names, but there has been one new, one of those subliminal messages and meditation things that I've listened to, and in a matter of 2 seconds, barely anything was said in the first 2 seconds. Right then and there, I just heard something that's like, surrender. No. Yes. Singing bowls. Especially, oh, crap. Oh, which ones are those? The ones that are actually made out of a certain stone? Crap. What are those ones called? Because there's there's a set that's like, clear, citrine, green aventurine. Oh, crap. Rose quartz. I said citrine. Carnelian. Black shadow quartz, I think. Yeah. Yeah. But also I like selenite bowls too, because the good thing with selenite bowls is that easy, don't fall face first. A metal one's good too. It's just that when you actually use a stone and actually use it for, that purpose, you're taking the energy and you're plopping them in there. And that might be a potential sign of where you might want to actually kind of rethink a little. But the good thing is, when you make your subliminal messages, you can actually bamboozle making it and just making it simple. Because to keep it simple, a sinking crystal, meaning that pretty much it just, like when you make contact with it, it just vibrates. Well, because I know there's about the tuning fork, but whenever the tuning fork goes off, it just makes my whole head just go. And also, funny enough, a lot of people don't know this, but like the dog whistle, the thing that's so high pitched that humans really technically shouldn't hear it, but I can. You can actually take your dog whistle and actually, that doesn't sound so bad. You take your dog whistle and blow into it, and the sound will go and just vibrate off the crystal. Believe it or not. And that's one of the... That's just another example of how you can cleanse a crystal like that. And to me, really any crystal should be at least cleansed or purified once in some way. Even selenite. But now, the thing with selenite is probably one of the oddest questions. How are you going to cleanse this thing? Well, just like how if you watch the video about me talking about how to like cleanse with the elements, in this case, you're probably thinking, well, we should put it under the moonlight. Yep, that'll work. But if you're like me, you like to keep it simple and being able to do it whenever deemed fit. Take your selenite piece and pretty much close your eyes and have it in this hand. When you breathe in, say in your mind's eye that as you breathe in, you're pulling all the energy that is not originally of the stone. You're breathing it in and it's pulling it in by gripping it, pulling it inward. And then as soon as you exhale, you're going to be like chucking the energy out when you're exhaling it. So, as an example. And I don't know if you can tell, but yeah, well, I think, wow, it did get some shine back, I can say that much. It was, wow. I wasn't expecting it to be that fancy, but fine. Yeesh. But again, have the stone piece you want. Get a grip. So bad. Get a grip. Ah, yeah. Breathe in, pulling the energy outward. And when you breathe out, just completely just chuck it. I almost just knocked over my crystal grid when I did that. See, but I'm trying to think about anything else regarding the Lovely Spirit board. Anything else? If you want to also have incense, you can also cleanse it by like using incense. If you're gonna be cleansing it by fire, you probably best just to cleanse it, but just either a camphor cleanse, because camphor is like extreme, or make your essential oil mixture of either oregano and frankincense, or just really potent crystals not crystals, herbs, resins, what you deem fit, and completely douse this thing. If you want to burn it, then you can. Camphor, it looks like, I'm going to try my best to describe it. You know like how it looks, like how the piece of like, what is that gum called? Icebreakers bubblegum looks like? It's a little, well, it's not that tiny, but it's a square that looks like that. But it's well, if you look it up, you'll be able to be like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's mainly chemical. But the thing with camphor, though, traditionally, if I'm remembering correctly, someone hit me upside the head with a blown object if I'm wrong. But camphor was used as like amino, and amino is like heavy duty, cleanse it out, get it out of here, kind of a thing. It's also used for sour jars because it's so much of a slap in the face. Also, kind of the same thing with vinegar. But it's tiny, but it packs a punch. Like I've said, it's kind of like a spirit. Screw it, we're gonna just cleanse this place. Everything from human, spirit, divine, you name it. You throw it in there, everything that's in there is gonna flee in terror. Trust me. I didn't do it. Rude move. And even also, before you even start your board session was called. No, not that one. Open, I say, no, not you, the other one. There you go. You can have that, no, not that one. Okay, there's that one. Come here, you. Make sure you actually have yourself protected, and most definitely use something as simple as a, well, this one is like my own protection mixture. And yeah, this thing, I've had this thing for years. It's like getting slapped in the face by like someone with extreme OCD, and they need to have their house spotless. It smells like that. It's like, clean this damn house. That's the thought that comes in my head when smelling that. Now this one is my own. Pretty much when in doubt, use the blessing mix. This one smells like clary sage and clean, like, you know. But make sure you bless the board with this or something as such, and make sure you protect yourself. And of course, obviously, make sure you don't have an oil on you that's like called a bend over oil, because if you wear bend over oil, well, now you're going to be bent over by the other side, and we don't want that. Take that however you deem fit. Stuff. So essentially now, most of the time, usually, I kind of have like a routine that I do, and if I'm going to be using something, I usually like to bless it and get it all prepared before I actually use it, and then I let it sit after being, you know, is that the right word? Like consecrated or like charged or like infused. I like to give it some time so that way it can take it in. Like for an example, say if I was going to be using this cute but yet adorable little blue topaz that loves to jump, sit still. Say if I was going to use this cute little guy, and yes, this is a blue topaz, twirling this way, you're not going to jump. Nice try. And see that? It's like, oh my good lord. That blue coloring though, and funny enough, yes, this little guy feels like water, but it's not hard. I mean, no, not head. Message retracted. What does that mean? What? I don't know what that word, I don't know why it does that. Just put it again one more time, Nightshade, whatever you said. But you know, probably you might have to use words that YouTube won't be all upset about. God forbid somebody gets offended. But the thing is yeah, still. So this little guy, if I was going to be using him in the next, like, say, 5 minutes, just have him sit right there, and I'm going to bless him. And we'll pretty much just use the right hand, not the left, the right hand, and coat the little guy, but also have the intention in mind. And then as soon as he's all, well, that's going to sound so awkward. Once he's all oiled up, just having it be plopped into the right hand, such grasp, and then just say mind's eye the intention, and then just release it when you feel that it's been infused. Like that. And I don't know if you can tell, but I got a little bit more clear and a little bit more fluorescent. Well, not really fluorescent, but you know, you get the idea. It's kind of like, wow. And also keep in mind, you can't really use oil on every kind of stone because every stone is sensitive, like selenite. You get it wet, it goes twice. Message retracted twice. Now. Nightshade, how come like a good majority of like almost all your messages all of a sudden just got retracted? Something's fishy. It's not me. I don't like fish. You good? I hope there isn't an entity kind of like throwing a hissy fit and trying to, think like, oh, how Seer offended me, so I'm going to get back at him. Hey, don't look at me. I'm just kind of like saying the truth in a mean way, but shouldn't you be doing something better with your existence, Spirit? Because it's kind of rude, prey on a young girl. It's kind of sad. You guys are how old now? Come on now. That's none of my business. I don't mean to be feisty and snappy at them, but still. Aw, why are they jealous? It's okay. I remember when I was jealous too of, stuff, especially like this abomination, but then I realized, why am I being jealous of that? What is there to be jealous about? At least I don't look like an abomination, have a can opener for a face, and the body of a hairless dog. And I'm not that big. And I'm not as loose as, I'm not stretched to the size of a shower drain. So why am I being jealous of that? Nah. Those spirits will learn in time. And it was even more funny. All that I said about this individual, I'm not lying. I'm dead serious. As I like to say it, I don't talk shit, I just tell the truth. And other than that, really, I think that I can't really think of anything else with the spirit board off the top of my head right now, but primarily the big things. Oh, another thing too. I just remembered this and I'm glad I did. If you have an article of clothing, that has a Ouija board on it, that is one of the dumbest things to do. Why is that? Simple. Say, hey spirits, can you stop? Can you leave her alone, please? Can you guys just leave her alone for a little bit? And by a little bit, I mean, probably, when you guys reincarnate for your next mission on this planet. Can you guys wait until then? Thank you, hon. Stop being rude to her. That stuff. If you're wearing an article of clothing that has a Ouija board on it, all that has to be done, if you have say if you're, it's something as simple as this. If you have a small stone that's clear like this, or if you're wearing a piece like this that's clear, all it takes is just to, say if you're bending down for something, all it takes is just one stone to hit hello. The board's active. Dead serious. You have to really secure a Ouija board. Wow. I would honestly just tell him, wow, you really want me that bad and I don't even know you? Holy crap, you're like a super fan. But can you be like those fans of those ones that did Cutting for Bieber? Can you be like them, please? Because those are the real fans. You're willing to have yourself kick the bucket for me. Prove it. Let me see how much of a super fan you are. Troll face. Even though that was dark. Even though that was kind of dark. I don't care. That's what the spirits get for being in the line like that. But still. Having an article of clothing on and something that's clear or a crystal, just simply touching hello, that's now active. It's active now. So if say if you're sitting down and then a piece of opalite, this is opalite, touches hello, it's activated, it's been touched. So now when you go throughout the day, when you bend down and the stone hits something, it's making contact with it. That's just plain for how it is. And going throughout the day until you hit this goodbye, this thing's activated. And worst of all, something can just go right through. Message retracted. Nightshade. Why is it doing that? I'm about to just table flip at him, but until it gets dismissed or goodbye put on, that thing's gonna keep going, and things can just come through. And worst of all, if it's on a t-shirt, and if you're wearing it and it's activated, congratulations, you can just get possessed like that. The board's active, that's on the shirt. Matter of a second, possessed. At any time. It can happen. That's why Ouija boards don't deserve to be on an article of clothing. It's not a way of protecting yourself. In fact, it's kind of like making yourself be completely open to anyone being like, hey, hijack me. It's like you're it's kind of like you're being like a hooch on the side of the road, like showing some light to hopefully have some entity come by, stop, and then just jump on you. That's pretty much what that's the equivalent of it. It's not good. It's not safe. Don't do it. Don't wear it. Don't wear something that has a Ouija board on it. I'm not trying to say that to discourage people from, creatively expressing themselves. I'm just being real and realistic. And yes, you can also make Ouija boards in different languages too. You can make one just in Russian. You can make one in Italian. You can make one in Spanish. You can make one in Cyrillic. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, some people don't even know what common sense is, even though it should be common. It's kind of like now becoming rare commons. But these are usually, yeah, most of the time there are people that just say, wow, how do you know all this stuff? Hands-on experience most of the time. Because if I don't know something, I don't speak about it. If I don't know something, I really don't speak much about it, or don't even have a room to say anything about it most of the time. The only thing that I can do is come up with an opinion or a theory, and I say that before I put my guess out. Like, give my guess, not take out a guest, because that's not nice. That's kind of rude. Oh, you have a guest? Now, okay, you just took him out. That's not being hospitable, kid. Whatever. Well, then again, to be technical, if someone has to be taught common sense, that's like telling them, I want to teach you about what fire does when you touch it. You get burned. If they won't listen and they won't learn it, you're going to have to learn the hard way what happens when they touch something that's flaming. Well, oops. And sometimes to some people, things that are usually common sense, and they're saying have some common sense about something, sometimes it's not really that common of sense. For an example, here's a good example, and this is an honest one that I've been hit with, and I'm thinking, really, dude? You're telling me about common sense? Okay. Essentially, according to somebody, yeah, pedo spirit alert. We have a pedo spirit. You ain't gonna get me down to that sewer. But one of the, supposedly have common sense things was this. Let's see here. How did it go? To me, it's just really? I'm kind of even embarrassed to even say this because it was my other half that said this to me once, and I'm just like, really? Really? You're gonna tell me this to have common sense about something regarding relationships and stuff like that? But you kind of don't do it at all. One of them, and it pretty much was something like, have just have some common sense and learn how to better treat somebody in a relationship and actually I can't remember exactly how he said it, but just the way that it was just all have some common sense because it sounds like you can't handle this relationship or something like that. And I'm just thinking, can't handle this relationship, huh? Here, Cupcake, have a seat. I'm gonna make a dean's list. Can't okay, so I can't handle this, huh? Well, let me remind you, just to be, just sure. I got you off of heroin by myself and was by you for 7 days. Not even giving a crap about how you look or what you were going through. Still was there for you. There's one. Number two. Oh, let's see here. Put up with a lot of BS, such as going behind my back many times, lying about it, being deceitful, not really telling the whole truth or being transparent. And even when you tell me the truth, I already know, because I'm not stupid. 3. Pretty much almost getting kidnapped and taken to Ireland and never be heard from again. Me taking the initiative to drive at 2 in the morning all the way down there to Palm Springs just to rescue you on my own will and took that initiative to make sure you were safe. There's another one. Kind of got myself into debt for you to make sure that you wouldn't be in a heap of trouble and just have you avoid all that, all the debt and also legal stuff. There's another one. Yep, we can keep going. I mean, I can keep going. Oh, here's the best one. Remain devoted and committed and focused on making sure that you will be given the best treatment and actually have a chance to have security, and a place to live, and a roof over your head, and never had to worry about being in a place of not having a home, no roof over your head, and not feeling safe. That's another one. I mean, that's, at least to me, that kind of shows that somebody kind of gives a shit. Pardon my French, but still. If you have somebody going through all the BS I just said, and every single one of them is true, and that's not all of them, I don't think I need to be told on how to handle a relationship because trust me, if I can look at all the BS that they've done and still see them as other and love and accept them the same way, I don't think I'm the one with the problem. And I mean, that's just common sense. Because to me, if someone can't really understand what the difference between someone actually loving somebody for real and someone who doesn't and is just, no. If someone can't understand that when somebody's really giving them care, support, love unconditionally and wanting the best for them, if they can't see that, that's very sad. And I'm not trying to sound mean, but it's sad. It's really sad to see someone that gave you their best before, that for some reason won't ever do it. Just won't do it again to that degree. But for other people, it's no problem. Don't look at me. The first time I was told, put in more effort, I listened. But now it's reversed. Now instead of him putting all the effort in, now it's backwards. I'm not trying to be picking a fight. Don't look at me. I've had the same intention. all along. Prioritizing to make sure that myself and other can actually live a peaceful, contentful life with as little much of stress as possible. That's it. Everything else is woozy wooey. That's the main intent. And it's just not. I don't even understand. Why is there difficulty understanding that he gives a crap about you, kid? Are you not able to see it? Wow. That's not really good. And I don't mean to be like this. But if, like I've said before, if you really care about someone or care about something, sometimes you have to hit it upside the head and tell it it's an idiot to help the idiot understand and see that what he is doing is idiocy, so therefore the idiot will cease being an idiot. And no, I'm not intentionally insulting other like that. No. It's a figure of speech, and it's a saying. And just like how Shiny doesn't, point blank honest, and just tells it how it is. I'm the same way. And the worst of all is when you're really trying to actually work for both you and other. When you're putting in a lot of effort, and the other person clearly doesn't appreciate it, and whenever something bad happens, they don't take any accountability on themselves. Because I already know, believe me, I'm not the most perfect individual out there. I'm like one of the most emotional people when I'm attached to someone or close with someone. That's just how it is. That's how I am. Because I only understand how to either give 100% for real or none. That's all I know. Either get devotion and commitment to the highest state, or you get zilch. That's it. I cannot do anything else. It's like all the way or no way. And when there's this idea of giving love and affection and care and just being, loving sporadically, that's kind of like saying that you decide when your emotions come out. And that's when you can also say that love is so easily fading that anything can happen in a blink of a moment. Well, in that kind of regard, I mean, don't get me wrong, to be completely honest. But for me, the way I look at it, it's just like, if you love someone, truly, it doesn't matter what happens, what time it is, where it happens, who they become or who they were, heck, why they went from the perfection that you had and you wish for to something that you would never expect. All those 5 questions, but you still love them because it's still them. If you can do that, that's love. However, though, if you have one of these things happen, and now for some reason now you're not giving them your best effort 100%, there's no love. There was no love there in the first place because it was under a certain condition. Hate to put it that way. That's just the harsh truth. And point blank, sometimes things happen. But the thing is, if you truly love and care about somebody, it doesn't matter what happens with them. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter at all anything. It's either you do or you don't. Yes or no. You don't get to choose when your feelings go up. You don't get to choose what time of day you feel like loving someone. And if you're going to be making the extra step to commit and devote to someone, as seeing them as partner or other, here's the thing. You made the choice to stick, so you're going to stick. And to make it even more, like, more selenite upside the head, if you have made agreement to devote more than once, specifically if you made it to at least 3 times, you're at the point where it's like, okay, you made this choice for the 3rd time. Hey, and the way that I look about that, Nightshade, is that, hey, if the world isn't going to appreciate your good side, the world doesn't deserve it. It doesn't deserve it. So don't give it out. It had the chance. If it's not going to appreciate it, they don't need it. And I'm even turning into that myself. Don't get me wrong. I really don't. I'd rather be my real self, sweet, loving, caring, supportive, and being there, helping, and making sure people suffer less. But at the point where this has been going, it's making me just be all like, I don't know what else to say, but I tried, being nice and sweet. But apparently you don't appreciate it, so why should I give it out some more? And saying that it's because, well, or when someone is saying like, well, I know you love me. Do you now? Do you have my feelings? No, you don't. And second of all, how do you know those feelings are still there after the damage that was caused by you? You don't know that. And I'm not pointing fingers at all. Because at the end of the day, whether it's admitted or not, everybody in the situations that they're in remembers exactly how it happened. Even if they will not admit it or even look at the truth. They know what happened. They understand what happened. And since they're refusing to fess up to it, that's what's going to eat them up. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. Up until the point, if they're with somebody who loves and cares about them not fessing it up and still playing shenanigans, it's going to get to the point where the other person is going to get fed up and just drop them. And then they're going to realize, where they oh, I can't, they were my everything and now they're gone and they left me. And when they try to go back towards that person, the other person's like, I've waited for you and I tried for so long. You didn't listen, you didn't appreciate it, so why should I give it back to you? You're not going to appreciate it, you really haven't. So why should I give it back to you? Or why should I even try? When you haven't even tried yourself. And you're just having full of false hopes. And one of the things that I don't even want to ever have is the thought of other giving false hope. Because a spouse figure or other always needs to inspire, support, and bring hope to other. That's how it's supposed to be. The other is supposed to be one's other half. The one that sees other as a part of themselves, just an extension, and both work as a unit. The minute that is not happening, and how one is doing all the work and the other one's really not trying, if they refuse to admit it, well, don't know what to tell you, but if you have somebody being neglected and they're trying to communicate with you about something just so simple as like, it's getting close to your birthday, what would you like? I just want to talk to you and because I miss talking with you and I want to actually talk to you and because that's kind of expected. But when you kind of say that it's kind of crazy and controlling, trying to talk to somebody for just being there like you're supposed to, that's not controlling. That's being considerate. And if you're thinking being considerate is controlling and just, trying to open up and stay in the know and make the other person feel like they're a priority in somebody's life, if you think that's controlling, really? How? How is it controlling being considerate? Because if you want to put it this way, if somebody's controlling, are they being considerate? In a malefic way, they are. In a way that they're forcing you to do what they want you to. Pretty much, they become possessed in dictating and saying how your life goes. That's malefic. That's the malefic side of it. That's not caring. Being considerate and actually wanting to talk to somebody, to hear their voice, to hear their ideas, to make them feel included, to make them feel like their vote counts, to make them feel like their wants, desires are also a priority, not just the ones asking. I have no idea what just happened, but it's probably an indication that probably something is going on, and I might have to end the stream here. But thank you for tuning in. I'll be in for the next one tomorrow.